Welcome once again to Calaveras Living. Now we're going to talk about a subject on today's program about which we should know a lot, or at least the fundamentals. We might be able to help somebody, a family member, someone who really needs help, and we're going to talk about CPR and how to do it properly and when to do it and all the things around that. We're going to talk with two people who know of where they speak. Right? Okay. Nicole Vasquez is operations manager for American Legion Ambulance, right?
Yes.
And you are a paramedic, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And Matt O'Donnell is a paramedic also and a fireman from Evans Pass Fire District.
Yeah.
And hope I got those right.
You did.
Didn't give you the
Good
wrong
job.
names.
No.
Okay. Hey, well, thanks for coming.
Oh, thanks
I
for
really
having us.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
And
thank
CPR is obviously an important subject. And over the years, I guess the techniques have changed. When it first came into existence, do this, do that, do that. Matt, tell me first, how has it evolved? I mean, how has things gotten more refined?
Absolutely. It's a really good question. When it started, it was based upon theory and a little bit of science, and they're constantly reevaluating that science and updating techniques based upon evidence-based studies to provide the most effective techniques to simulate a normal pulse rate and a normal respiratory rate, with the goal of bridging that gap between sudden cardiac arrest and hopefully getting the patient back.
Okay, Nicole, the basic purpose of CPR is to resuscitate someone. I mean, cardiopulmonary resuscitation is to bring somebody back from something, right?
Yes. Basically, a sudden cardiac arrest is different than a heart attack. When you traditionally think of a heart attack, you think of somebody who has chest pain. It may come on over several hours or even several days, and it may end up causing irreversible damage to the heart. It doesn't always lead to a cardiac arrest. It can, but usually it's resolved with medications, and you see people go in for cardiac stents and things like that. Sudden cardiac arrest is a sudden cessation in the electrical activity of the heart, and it is exactly that. The patient may or may not experience chest pain or any symptoms prior to the onset, and they will collapse immediately, and death is imminent within minutes.
Okay, now CPR, can it bring you back from something else, or it's all due with the cardio things?
It's primarily designed based upon sudden cardiac arrest. Mm-hmm. So in the instance of a death due to trauma or some other cause, it's less successful in those areas. Okay. It really does specialize towards somebody that had a sudden cardiac arrest due to an electrical issue with their heart. And that's where we see our best success rates. And that's really the program we're here to talk about, is really designed about that, where somebody who was healthy suddenly is no longer breathing.
Okay. Now, are there classes for people who want to go or would like to go or could go to classes to learn more about CPR?
Yes. There are your traditional CPR classes, and there are...
Who puts those on?
American Heart Association,
okay.
American Red Cross has many instructors. There's many organizations that teach CPR. There's a lot of instructors within the county here and Amador County that are certified CPR instructors. The program we're trying to launch and talk about today is a new concept in CPR that's designed specifically for the lay person. You don't have to take a lengthy class. In the past, CPR classes sometimes were 8 hours, an all-day class, and you had to do extensive testing, and you had to get a card, and you had to recertify that card every 2 years. And actually, it's very simplified now. It's community compression only CPR. And what that means is American Heart Association and American Red Cross have actually eliminated the need for mouth-to-mouth ventilations now. So
that's very
it's very encouraging for people to do it.
Yes, eliminated. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And we're here because we are part of a new coalition that has started within Amador and Calaveras counties. It's called the Calaveras Amador Start a Heart Coalition, or the CASH Coalition for short. And we are going out and recruiting firefighters, paramedics, healthcare workers, and we're going out and teaching these usually 1 hour, 1.5 hour courses.
And they're free?
They're free.
Okay.
We're just trying to get the message out there. We want to show people that you can do compression-only CPR. It's not the scary CPR that we've all learned in the past. You don't have to recertify it. It's a general knowledge type class. And we're really encouraging bystander participation, so that when someone does have a cardiac arrest event out in public or in a home, somebody is on site that can deliver CPR and, as Matt said, bridge that gap between EMS arrival.
Okay. Now, you were going to say your mouth went like that.
That's okay, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
What our goal is to really focus on getting the information to the community. Right now, if somebody were to have a sudden cardiac arrest, if we just relied on traditional CPR classes, that costs money, that's a lot of time, and very few people actually go to those. And so...
Well, they forget to. I know I've been to a couple and I've forgotten.
Absolutely. They're intimidated by CPR, and sometimes it's complexity. So the goal would be to get as many people in Calaveras and Amador County trained in the basics as possible, so that anytime somebody has a sudden cardiac arrest, there will hopefully be somebody that knows what to do nearby and can start the process of calling 911, beginning compressions, and places that have these strong public awareness campaigns have amazing success rate in bringing back their sudden cardiac arrest patients.
Yeah,
Not
you were
just
telling me something on the phone the other day when we were, kind of knocking around what we talk about. And you said in Seattle they have an amazing success rate.
they do, and
Yeah.
that's kind of the gold standard. That's where we're trying to get.
You said what's around 70%.
It's up there,
Yeah.
very high. And that's for a witnessed arrest. Somebody starts bystander CPR, and we're not quite there yet, but we're making improvements, and this is just one part in this long chain of events that needs to happen to give the person that suffered the sudden cardiac arrest the best chance at survival, as well as not just survival in terms of they have a pulse back, but they have their quality of life intact.
Okay, now how did you both refine your techniques, as time passed?
We were part of a trial study initially several years ago. Ebbets was a little ahead of American Legion Ambulance in spearheading this pit crew concept CPR, or high performance CPR as it's known in the industry. And it's a different approach to the way a healthcare provider renders CPR. And they were starting to be very successful with their study. And at American Legion Ambulance, we looked at, these guys are paid staffing, you have the same guys on your engines and your medic units all the time. How is that going to play out in the rest of the county with volunteer fire agencies where you have different responders all the time? So we started a study that focused on using the volunteers, and both of our studies were very successful with the implementation of some changes in the way we approach CPR and the manner in which we do CPR.
Okay. And then you both practice, quite a bit.
Absolutely, training's key.
Yeah.
Both
I
for
guess all the firemen and all the paramedics, yeah.
Yeah, every day you're at work, you're going to train on something, and this being such an important component, we've really dedicated a significant amount of time training our personnel, as well as the community, as well as the volunteers, so that throughout the whole process we have a good range of expertise.
Now, before you give us a little demonstration, anything we should tell the people out there before you start? Or you will describe, and you will both describe kind of what's happening?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to say it's really important to, we keep stressing it's very important for the community to know this and the community to take action immediately. For every minute that a person is down with a cardiac arrest, their survivability potential decreases by 10%.
Yeah.
So when you look at EMS and fire response times and you factor in an average response time is about 6 to 10 minutes, if someone is not doing CPR on that person that has collapsed immediately, that patient's survivability is going to be at 0% at the 10-minute mark. Yeah. So it's really important for people to learn this and understand this so that we have something to work with when we arrive on scene.
It's kind of like the whole thing, timing on a stroke too. You know,
Absolutely.
you better
It's
get
all
there soon.
timing.
So, Matt, are you going to do the work?
Absolutely, I certainly can. We have a mannequin down here to simulate somebody that had a sudden cardiac arrest.
Yeah, part of a mannequin.
It's true, yes. It's
It's not like the ones I see in the women's dress store. Okay.
yeah, it's missing a few pieces. So the goal would be just to give basic awareness to the citizens about what's going to happen when somebody has a sudden cardiac arrest. The first thing
You have
is
a name for him, by the way?
no, I don't. Would you like to supply one?
No. I thought sometimes people kid around and have a funny name or something.
They do, but it's TV, so we'll keep it clean.
Okay.
So the first thing that we need to be aware of is making sure that you're safe. If this person has had a sudden cardiac arrest and they're in a spot that's just not safe, we'd rather you didn't get involved, because if you get injured, now we have two people lying on the ground. So make sure the scene is safe. Come up and assess the patient just to see what's going on. Sir, can you hear me? Can you hear me? There's no response.
No response.
I'm just going to lean in close and see if he's breathing or not.
You can tell that up close, air coming out.
Right, you can sometimes hear the air moving in and out. If you get close enough, you can sometimes feel them exhaling. And I've got my hand on their chest, and I'm feeling if their chest is moving up and down.
Okay.
If they're not breathing, the next step would be to alert 911. It's critically important that somebody makes that phone call. If they don't make that phone call, then the paramedics and the fire department aren't going to come. And the CPR, again, it's a short-term bridge between sudden cardiac arrest and defibrillation. So the AED that's carried on a fire engine or the manual defibrillator that's carried on an ambulance is really what's going to bring these people back to life. So you have to call 911.
Yeah.
And if you're by yourself, go make that call, and then you'll come back and start the compressions.
So do it in that sequence.
Absolutely. If you are in a multiple-person setting, can you please call 911 while I start CPR?
That makes sense. Okay.
Excellent. Now, the stuff we're really trying to get across is the bridge that we're going to build here. So they're not breathing. We're going to position them flat on their back on a flat, firm surface, the ground being the best one.
So you move the person, make them prone.
Exactly.
Yes.
If they're on a bed, for instance, the compressions wouldn't work because their whole body is
Because the
moving.
mattress gives.
You
Yeah.
need something firm to offer that resistance so you can get an optimal chest compression
Okay.
to the patient. If the patient's in a chair or a bed, don't be afraid to move that patient to the floor. You're not going to injure that patient further by moving them to the ground. So it's very important that they get on the ground.
Okay. So then what's next, Matt?
I'm going to take my hands and put them in the center of the chest.
Okay.
I'm going to lock my elbows.
And you're going from the side, huh? Okay.
Yeah. And it's important to note when Matt's in proper position like that his shoulders are directly over his hands, because it should not be a motion with your arms where you're compressing with your arms. The power should come through your hips and your shoulders, and that should be what drives you into your compression, and that helps reduce fatigue on the part of the person that's doing the resuscitation.
Okay.
And so Matt's compressing the chest, and the optimal compression depth is 2 inches. There's been a lot of studies that have confirmed that that's as hard as you want to push, and that actually is a lot of force. This is where a lot of people are concerned about possibly breaking ribs, and that can certainly happen and does happen quite often, even with professional rescuers performing CPR. Oftentimes the patient that you're doing CPR on may be an elderly patient, and they're going to have more osteoporosis and arthritis issues, and certainly that's going to be a normal thing. So we want to make sure that people are aware that if you do that, that's okay. You're not doing it wrong, and you're not hurting the person anymore.
Okay, and how many compressions a minute approximately?
And you want to make sure that you're going to do 100 compressions a minute,
100?
which is a lot of compressions.
Okay.
They say if you do your compressions to the rate of the song Stayin' Alive, if anyone knows that, that's a good tempo to keep for your compression ratio. If there's other people around you, you can ask someone to help be a timekeeper.
Okay.
And also, delivering 100 compressions in a minute is very fatiguing, like I said earlier. So proper technique helps, but if you have someone with you, and you start to get fatigued, it's better to teach someone and instruct them, even if they have never done it before, because they will be fresh, and then you can alternate rescuers.
Okay, and Matt, how do you locate the proper place to put your hands?
That's a really good question. In the past, it used to be pretty complicated. At this point, the sternum is the cartilage that protects the thorax, joins all the ribs. You're just going to put your hands right in the middle of that.
Okay.
Center of the chest.
Right at the nipple line, they say.
Pardon?
Right at the nipple line.
Okay, I was just going to
Yeah.
say, this kind of looks like it's exactly
Yeah.
between his nipples. there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And again, the important thing is keep it simple. Put your hands over the heart
Okay.
and push down. And we're pushing down 2 inches deep, as Nicole said. Now, here's another really important point. Every time that we let up, we let all the way up. We want to take our weight entirely off.
Oh, okay.
It's as important to take your weight off as it is to push down. When you push down, you're squeezing the heart, and the blood's going out to your brain and your vital organs, and it's keeping you salvageable. But the heart itself doesn't get any blood while it's squished, obviously.
Okay.
So by letting it all the weight up, that's when the heart's going to get its own blood supply, and it's going to be more receptive to the AED and the manual defibrillation attempts that the paramedics and the firefighters are going to try to convert that electrically troubled heart back into a heart that's got a regular pulse.
Okay, and now if another person who knows how to do it, you kind of take turns?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Should I sit back down at this point?
Sure, sit back now.
What the science is showing is
You're
that
tired.
It is very
tiring.
tiring
Yeah,
to do
sure.
a minute or 2 minutes
It
of
would be.
nonstop CPR.
Yeah.
And what the science shows is that the average person can really only do that about 2 minutes before the quality of their compressions really starts to decline.
Well, and like Nicole said too, you're not using your arms, you know.
Absolutely.
as,
Yeah, you're using your whole
shoulders
body,
and
you'll,
everything.
You'll definitely start to sweat. And it's really important that if there are multiple people there, you trade off. The goal would be every 2 minutes somebody new starts compressions so that we keep that quality.
Now, how soon do you check to see if you've made progress?
That's a good question. In this, again, this is a bridge we're building between calling 911 and the ambulance showing up. And generally speaking, just keep pushing on the chest. If they wake up and start saying, ouch, stop. You've saved them.
Yeah, that's good.
But
Job well done.
Yeah, generally speaking, this compression won't save them. It won't bring them back to life. It keeps their vital organs alive until the paramedics or the firefighters show up and use the AED. And once they get there, they're going to change everything. And they might still recruit your help, but they're going to be doing slightly different things, and they'll stop every 2 minutes and reassess. But for community compression-only CPR, once you've determined that person's not breathing, please start compressions and keep going until help arrives.
But make that call as soon as you can.
Absolutely.
Okay, now, have you had the occasion in your work to work on someone and they came back?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you have too.
Yeah, and it's always a really rewarding day to see these things progress and to be able to affect change real time.
Well, that is. So the classes that you were talking about will incorporate
Yes.
what you were showing us today.
They're free, and they just need to contact, they can contact myself at American Legion Ambulance. They can contact Matt O'Donnell at Ebbets Pass Fire, and we can certainly schedule classes. We're really trying to target service groups like Lions Clubs, Rotaries,
Sure.
churches.
Schools?
We're trying to get into the schools. We actually are working on getting into Calaveras County Office of Education and making a pitch to them to get this added to curriculum. So
Is this
school-age
available
kids.
outside Calaveras County?
It's available in Amador County as well, and we're
Okay.
working on the school districts there as well. So we think it's really important. They make high school kids do 20 hours of community service as a requirement to graduate, and we feel that they should also be doing a CPR program as a requirement to graduate. And if we taught everybody in high school, then we would have a very well-trained community
A lot of population.
in the event someone went down. And statistically, they show that younger adolescent age, teenage, younger adults like that are going to be more apt to jump in and help than middle-aged adults. They are more responsive to new things, and they're not afraid to try it. So
Matt,
that's a good age group to target.
I'm sorry. Is it hard to gauge that 2-inch thing, you know?
It is, and in general, people tend to not push hard enough.
Oh, okay.
They're afraid to break
I was thinking right away
ribs.
they might push too hard.
No, a really large person could probably push too hard, but the average sized person, you know, the mantra is push hard, push fast. And we really do want to generate a pulse with every compression, and that's what's going to build pressure and keep what we call perfusion going to those vital organs. And by being tentative and not pushing hard enough, we don't generate the pressures that we need.
Okay. Yeah, 100 to me, you know, seems a lot in per minute. I mean, you only have 60 seconds, and you're going more than 1 a second.
Yes.
And that's quite a bit, but
is.
that's what you found is most beneficial.
Yeah, the science is saying that, you know, hitting that benchmark is really important.
Yeah.
If you go too fast, the survival rates go down. If you go too slow, the survival rates go down. So there really is that sweet spot.
Who are the people who evaluate what's best? I mean, are they doctors, scientists? Who are they?
All of the above. Doctors, Seattle Medic One, they have a resuscitation academy, and they've been really the pioneers in the U.S. Since the 70s in cardiac arrest survivability. And they've done extensive research on where is the target rate, as Matt called it, where's that sweet spot? How many compressions do we need to do in a minute before we're not perfusing enough or perfusing too much and not allowing that recoil of the heart. And they've also looked at what's more important, compressions or getting electricity, as in the AEDs to the heart. They've looked at everything. They've done exhaustive studies
And they pass that on to folks like yourself?
Yes, they do.
Now, what, with the old CPR, I mean, what was wrong with that? What was not working?
What they've found is that if you go back a long way in CPR, it's changed many times, but you would do a certain number of compressions and you would stop and you would deliver 2 breaths.
Yeah.
And if you picture the heart like an old well with a hand pump, you'd have to pump it several times before you would prime the pump and actually get water to come out. Do you picture that?
Sure.
And the heart's the same way. Those first compressions that you do, the first 5 or 10, don't really generate a pulse. You're building pressure, and then finally you start to get blood flowing and perfusion, which is oxygen making it to tissue. And so you would just start to get perfusion around the 15th compression, and then you would stop and deliver your 2 breaths. And so you never kept the pressure high enough to deliver oxygen to those vital organs. And so that's how it's morphed, is that the science told us we need to do more compressions to really get the pressures high enough, as well as when you take a breath, you inhale 21% oxygen and you use a little bit up. When you exhale, you're exhaling a ton of oxygen. So that last breath the person took brought a lot of oxygen into their body, and it's sitting there unused. So by starting compressions and circulating that around, we're really able to keep, again, the brain, the kidneys, the liver, all those vital organs alive for a long time while we wait. And if we were to start and stop compressions as we used to, the level of success we had was much lower than with continuous compressions that we're doing now.
And that's why with community CPR, it's important to let people know. That's why we've taken the mouth-to-mouth out of community compression-only CPR. We have found through studies you don't need to ventilate them as often as we previously thought because of what Matt was explaining. They've already drawn in with their last breath a lot of oxygen that we actually just need to circulate within their system. Also, when you compress the chest, you're creating a slight vacuum that's actually drawing in small amounts of ambient oxygen in the air, which, as Matt said, is 21%. So by not giving mouth to mouth and not stopping when we do compressions, they are still being oxygenated to a small extent. And we are doing the most important thing, which is actually compressing that heart and perfusing the body. So that's a big reason why we don't have the emphasis on the breaths anymore.
Well, that's good. Now, is there anything we haven't covered that folks out there should know?
Just that everyone needs to take a compression-only CPR class. They're free, they're fast. We will come to your site. We want to target as many groups as we can. We have done 4
Need a certain number of people for a class?
We don't. We
Okay.
don't. We like to
You'll
have
do it
about
for-
5 in a group.
Okay.
4 or 5 makes a nice minimum size group, but
Sure.
you know, certainly we can. You know, anyone that's interested needs to contact us and get the information and get the ball rolling. We have instructors all over both counties that we can plug into whatever area these people live in and make sure they have a class that's brought to them.
Did anything come to your mind?
Our end goal is over the next 5 years getting this training out so that at the end of 5 years, 50% of Calaveras and Amador County are trained in compression-only CPR.
Well,
And
that's
it's an
good.
ambitious goal. It's going to be a proactive work on our part to go out and identify how we can get this training out, and we welcome people in the community. If you want to learn this, please give a call to your local fire department, your local ambulance provider, your local hospital, and we'll try to make sure that you get the training so that you have the best possible chance at saving somebody in our community.
Yeah, which is, boy, can't be more important than that.
Can't be more
Are you going to
important
keep
than
the statistics, see if you can beat Seattle?
Absolutely.
We are. We're on the right track. We started out at about 20% on average for survivability, and after about a year and a half of us implementing the new high-quality CPR, pit crew CPR concepts throughout both counties, we're getting close to about 60%.
Oh,
And,
that's quite a pickup.
There's small numbers in our communities because we have small demographics, small populations.
Yeah.
But we had quite a few successful saves last year, and we're well on our way this year with some successful saves. It's really making a big difference, but we really need to target those bystanders because in every single save that I can think of in the last year and a half to 2 years that we've had, those patients have all had bystander CPR prior to the arrival of the fire department and the emergency medical services. So that is truly what is making the difference. That is keeping those patients going long enough to bridge that
get the
gap,
paramedics
to get the resources there that have the life-saving equipment and skills on board. It gives us something to work with when we get there.
Okay, good. Nicole, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Time is zipped by. Nicole Vasquez and Matt O'Donnell, and we thank you both for coming.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
having
your
us.
work.
Thank
you
you.
for letting us get the word out.
Also, we should remind people of the ambulance card that you can buy, you know, for American Legion
Ambulance ticket
It's a
subscription.
great way to
Yes,
spend some money.
call the office.
And as far as I know, I took it off my taxes as a health expense. So, you know, you can get this card and for just $100.
Yes.
And it really might save you a lot of money. Although they try to recoup some of it. But anyway, it's great to see you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.
Good to see you.
We thank you for whoever that is and for your hard work. But all the best, and maybe come back and see us as things start to improve, because this type of program couldn't be done often enough.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time on Calaveras Living.